I hope you all are doing good. So today we are here and to learn another program in Python. So today we are going to discuss on performing a linear search and to write a program to actually to perform a linear search. So first we'll be seeing actually what is this linear search means, and then we'll be trying to understand each and every line of the code, okay, with an example, and then we will practically do this particular program in the Python software. So the main aim of this program is to search any given item X in the list items. Okay, so basically what we are going to do here is that we are going to have a list here. In that, it can contain anything. It can be an integer or it can be a character like a word or anything. So we are going to write a program to find if any given particular number or any character, if it is there in a particular list or not. That is what we are actually going to do. So basically this works on the iteration process where it goes through each of the element in the list using a while loop. Okay, so basically you have 8 elements. So what this will do is, iteration means it will go through each element and check if that is the element that I have asked for. So if I have given an input as 8, so what this will do is it will go through each of my element in the list and check if it is 8 is there or not. Okay, so that is what actually iteration means. Okay, if the item is found, okay, it sets a flag indicating the item was found. Okay, now for you, maybe a flag is something new to you, but I will try to explain what is actually flag at the end of my video. Okay, and if the flag is set after the loop complete, okay, that means the position where the item was found, it will tell us that. And if the flag is not set, then it will say that the item was not found. Okay, so these are the 4 steps that on which the program actually works. Okay, so let me come again on this. First thing is, the aim of this particular program is to search a given item X if it is there in the list or not. And how does it happen? So when I give a particular input to search if it is there in the list or not, it goes through each and every element. That is what iteration means, and it does so by using a while loop. And what happens is, if the item that I am looking for is found in the list, it will set the flag indicating that the item was found. Okay, so once the flag is set, by the time the loop completes, it means that the item is found and it will give me a positive response. Okay, or like saying that item was found. If the flag is not sent by the end of my loop, then it will print as the item was not found. So very simple logic it is. So now we'll try to understand the coding part. Okay, so these are the command lines that I'll be using. So first what I'm doing is I'm giving a list called as items, where in which I have stored few of my numbers like 5, 7, 10, 12, 15. You can add any numbers you want. It is basically up to you. Okay, then I am going to initialize a list named items. That is what I've done here, with some integer values. Then I am going to use a print function saying that the list of the item is comma items. Why? Because items is basically a variable, so I'm calling that variable here. So what will happen is, it will print my list of items what I have given in my previous command lines. Okay, next I am going to define a variable called as x by int, okay, and then input and enter the items to search. Now here I am going to take an input to search if that particular number or an item is there in my list that I have defined in my first command line. And here what I am doing is, I am already telling that the number that I am going to take will be converted into an integer. Why? Because all of these numbers are integers that I have defined. Then I am going to set a double variable, that is I and flag to 0. Okay, initially I am going to set it to 0, but because once my flag is set to 1, then only I can say that my item has been found. Okay, so that is why I am initially setting my flag and the I is the current item to 0. Then what I am going to say is that in the initial condition for my loop to start, I am going to say that the current value of I is smaller than the length of the items. Okay, the length of the items. Okay, so what happens because of this, that there is a start in the loop to iterate through each element of the item. That is why I have initially given my I and flag as 0. Okay, so if you see here, see here I have clearly mentioned I is equal to flag is equal to 0. Now I and flag is basically a variable. I am initializing this both to 0. Okay, why? Because I need to start my loop. So I am giving a condition here, while I is less than the length of the item, this starts a loop to check through each and every element. And if the item, current item, okay, that is there in the list is equal to x, it will check. Okay, what is x? X is the number that I am checking. So for example, if I am giving 5, okay, now what will happen is that it will check the current item through each item. First it will take 5. Okay, so it will, here it will be 5. It is checking if 5 is equal to the value of x. So let us assume that if my current item 5 and the value that I have given is same, then what happens? It will set the flag to 1. Okay, and it means that the item is found. So it will break out of the loop once the item is found. Okay, now what happens if that does not happen? It means what? It needs to increment the count to go to the next variable. So I have given a condition here, I is equal to I plus 1, means current value plus 1, means you go to the next value in the list. Okay, when will this happen? If my current value in the list, if it is not equal to the means the input that I have given, okay, then it increments the loop variable by I. Now it will check if the flag is equal to 1. If it is found, if it is equal to 1, then again it will print that item is found at a particular position. Okay, and prints the position of the item. Okay, that is what basically happens in indexing. Okay, there is negative and positive indexing both. Or else it executes if the item is not found. Even if by the end of the loop, if the flag is not set to 1, it prints as the item is not found. Okay, so this is a very simple program and its explanation for each and every command line. Okay, now we will see actually what is a flag. See, flag basically is a variable which is a boolean indicator to track whether the item that is being searched in the list has been found or not. Okay, it is a very common technique that is used in the programming area. Okay, to whenever you want to track any item. Okay, so how does it work? Basically the flag is set to 0, but when the flag is inside the loop, and if the item is found, then it will set the flag to 1. Okay, and after the loop the program checks mainly the value of the flag, and if it is 1, that means the item has been found. If still it is 0, then it means the item is not found. Okay, so that is how basically the flag works. And flag variable, mainly it acts as a variable to indicate whether a certain condition of finding an item in the list has been met or not. So once again, if the value of the flag remains 0 after the loop, it means the item was not found. If it becomes 1 after the loop, it means the item is found. So that is why here we are using a flag, which is nothing but a kind of variable only. Okay, so this is the explanation part for the program. Okay, now we will see how we can execute it. Okay, so here what I have done here is, you can see that I have given items as 5, 7, 10, 12. So I have initialized a list of item. Then I am going to print the list of item is comma items, because the variable I am calling it. Then I am going to take an prompt from the user to search for which item actually I want. So because of this integer, I am converting whatever value I am giving into an integer, because you see here anything inside the double quote will be converted into string. Now here what I am doing, I am giving a double variable initiation where I is equal to flag is equal to 0. So initially I am keeping the value of my I, current value, and flag to 0. Then what happens, I am going to run a while okay, where I'm saying that the value of I is less than the length of this entire items. That is true. It is less only because I have initialized I as 0. Then what happens? It will check if the items, current item in the list is equal to the value of x. Okay. So if the current item is 5 and here I have given as 5, so it will check the current item 5 is less than, sorry, is equal to 5 or not. If it is found that this is yes, equal to, then it will set the flag to 1 and break from the loop and directly print this particular statement saying that the item is found. Okay, but for example, if does not happen, then what will happen? It will move the counter. So I is equal to I plus 1 because you need to move to the next item and then again it will check if it is equal to x or not. Okay, so like that it will check, and at the end if that it is not met by any condition, for example here if you have given 11, so any of this item does not meet this particular criteria, because here in the place of x means for x you have entered an 11 value, then that means what? It is not same in any of these items. Okay, so the flag will not set to be 1 and it will return with item not found. Okay, so we will try to run this program and check how this is executed. Okay. So here is that the list of the item is this. Now I will type it as 11 and I'll press enter. You see the item is not found. Why? Because 11 is not here. So what my basically the code does is that when I give here 11, okay, I'll just write it. If I give 11 here, so what happens? This 11 is there, no, that will be there in my this x value. Okay, now what will happen? Because of the loop, each and every value 5, is it equal to 11? No, so flag will be 0 only. 7 equal to 11? No, flag will be 0. Like that each and every value it will check. So for any value it is not the same. So what will happen? At by the end of the loop also the flag will be 0 only. Okay, and here what it is doing, see, item found at the position comma I plus 1 means what? You are basically printing the position where you have found the item. Okay, that is why we have used this particular command in our print. Okay, next what we are going to do is we are going to give a number which is there in the list and then check what is the output we get. Okay, so I will give it as 10 and enter. Okay, item found at the position 3, item found at the position 3. Okay, so this is how basically your code will actually work. Okay, so once you give a number which is there in the list, it will say that yes, the item is found and at which position the item is. Okay, so that it will actually tell us. Okay, so this is how this particular program basically works. Now what I have done here is, this is a way of executing a program. Now there are various other way also, so I have tried to run or try to actually write a code in a different way also. See here, I have used a function called as search and I have given my variable name as mylist, okay, which is here, and then the number that I have to find 4, which is stored in the variable n. So n and mylist is here, and I have given this as a set of number, and then I am telling if search mylist comma n, okay, print found if it is there. If it is not found, print not found. Okay, so I will try to run this code. Oops, sorry. So there was some problem in the code. I actually missed out on some of the parts. So first I've defined a search, okay, function and listed as my list and n, and I've initialized the current value to 0, and then the same thing what I had done in my previous program, I'm giving a while statement saying that the value of I is less than the length of my list, and then I'm telling that if my list, the value, current value in my list, okay, is equal to n. Okay, what is n? N is basically the number I'm trying to search, then return true, or else increment it and return with false. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I've defined my list I have defined the number that I have to find in that list, and then I'm going to call these two functions. Okay, so now we'll see how this code actually runs. So not found. Okay, why? Because I've given it as 4. It is not found in that particular list. Now let me give it as 45, which is there in that particular this list, and try to run this code and check what is the output that I will be actually getting. See, I am getting an output called as found. Okay, so this is how actually you write a code to perform the linear search operations. Okay, this is one of the very important topic in actually Python programming. Linear search are most widely used programming topics. Okay, so the main agenda of this particular program, or the main thing that you need to remember in this particular program, is that how do you define your while conditions and loop conditions. Okay, that is very important, because if you mess up in giving the loop functions or the while functions, then your program will throw a lot of errors. Okay, so it is very important that you understand the type of loops and how to implement a loop in a particular program. Okay, so that will be all for this particular lecture. Okay, so we will again come back with other topics. So actually I'm running on a parallel note, I'm also running a series on data science with Python. So last week I actually had uploaded basically my a video on how to actually use Jupyter in introduction video. Now in the coming days we are also going to upload few of the sequential operations which can be performed using Jupyter. So in a similar way we'll try to complete the data science course also. Okay, so please